Welcome back to Simright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this class, I'll be teaching you how to make this beautiful built-up collar BUBU kaftan. So this built-up collar BUBU kaftan is really different from the last one we did with collar on this channel. You can see the back collar, but it's actually built up. And when you look at the front neckline, you also see that the neckline has a V neckline with this built up collar. Okay, so the collar is built together with the facing. So I'll teach you how to make. To begin this tutorial, I just want to make this dress, BUBU dress, easy and simple. Okay, because we have a whole lot of things to work around this dress. So this is a built up collar BUBU. So I will advise you come with your paper and place your paper on fold. Okay, all right, we will be folding our paper on fold this way. So once you have done that, the next thing you will do is to create your border lines. So for my border line, I'll just go ahead and make from the center or from the beginning of my paper, I'll come down by 5 inches. So once I've come down by 5 inches, next is to mark my border line. So I'm going to draft both back and front neckline. The reason I'm drafting the back first is because we are going to use the measurement of what we have on the back to create the front neckline. So because of the design we have in the front of that dress, I'm going to take my chest line measurement. I'm using 9 inches, after which I'm going to take my waist measurements, 17, and I'll come down 2 inches below the waist. That is the design I want to create. So if you want, you can come down depending on how you want your design to, or your style to go. So now, once you've gotten all these lines, I'm going to name these lines for clarity. This is the shoulder line, chest line, waistline, and 2 inches below the waist. You can make it 3 or 4 inches depending on what you want to create. So the first thing we want to do is to draft the back neckline. So for the back neckline, I'm working with 3.5 inches. You can see that, and the depth I'm working with is 1 inch. So I'll just go ahead and connect the neckline this way. I'll go ahead and connect the neckline this way. So once that is done, the next thing I want to create now is my shoulder. My shoulder is 15 inches. Divide by 2 will give me 7.5. So I'm going to mark my 7.5, and I'll come down by 1 inch. So once I come down by 1 inch, I'll just go ahead and do what? And do this. So we'll just leave this line at this for now. So we are done with the back neckline. So next is to take the measurement of what you have on the neckline this way. So I'll just take my measurement this way, and here I have 4 inches. So I just mark 4 inches. Now we'll leave it at this and want to go over to the front neckline. So for the front neckline, we are just going to connect our front neckline. It depends on where you want the neckline to be or to sit. So here I'm making use of 8.5. So I'll mark 8.5 and connect that 8.5 back to the neckline this way. Can you see? Then I'll keep my ruler straight this way, and I'll just mark dotted lines. These 4 inches, I'm going to impute it here, 4 inches, and I'm going to measure backwards from that point. I'll measure backwards 1.5 or 1.25, sorry, 1.25. Then I'll now connect my 1.25. So on this line, I'll measure these 4 inches again on this line. So I'll just go from here 4 inches and I will mark. And at this point, I'll come in with my protractor. So if you know how to use this protractor, you can do that. What I'm just doing here is to make sure I square my line at 90 degrees. So this is my line, and I'm going to connect it this way. So here I'm sure I have my 90 degrees. So you can also do the same, okay? Any which way you can do that well. So now for my neck collar, I'm working with 1.75, which is 1/3. So this is where I have my 1/3. So at this 1/3, which is the collar width, I'll just go ahead and connect it with my straight line to that neck depth. So here we are done with the front neckline. So now whatever we have here, that is what we are going to use to create the design. So just follow what I'm doing in this class, okay? I just want to do this on paper, okay? You can also do it on your fabric, but the reason I'm working on it here is in case you make mistake, so you don't go ahead and waste your fabric. So it's better you have this done on paper, so you'll be able to know exactly what you are recreating. So I just go this way. So let me just cut this to this, okay? It does not matter. By the time we place it on our fabric, we'll be able to amend it. So this is what we are looking for this dress right now, as you can see. So the next thing we'll do is to extend all these lines that we had. So I'm going to extend the length of the design, which is 2 inches below. I'm going to extend my waistline, as you can see right here. I'll now extend my chest line as well. So I know why I'm extending all of this line. So next, I'll come on this side. Depending on where you want your design to be, just measure 4 inches this way and mark, okay? Then from this center line, I'm going to also measure 4 inches from the center front. This is my center front. I'll measure 4 inches as well and mark. So now I'll place my pattern ruler this way. Can you see how I placed it? I placed it perpendicular to what I have on the neckline, or just a little bit. It must not really, but it has to point to the 4 inches we have right here. So I'll just do this and stop at that point. Now I'll come up from this length. I'll just come up by 5 inches, or come up by 4.5. Let me do 4.5. Then I'll now extend this line to that 4.5. I'll stop it at this. Then from this below, I'm going to measure 6 inches. From here, I'll measure 6 inches and I'll mark. Now, from this center front line, I'm going to measure, from that center front line, I'm going to measure 8 inches, okay? I'll mark. So once I've measured this 8 inches, I'll connect it to, you can see, to the 6 inches. I'll just connect it to the 6 inches. Then from here, which is the chest line, I'll come down by 1 inch and connect what I have on this point to this point. So make sure you follow what I'm doing right here. Can you see what I did there? Then from these 6 inches, I'll connect it, okay? So I'm thinking it's higher, so I'll come down a little bit because I don't want it go too high. So remember, from here we came in by 4.5, so I'll just make it 4 inches. So I'll just extend that 4 inches, so I'll be able to have exactly what I'm looking for. Can you see? So this is exactly what I'm looking for. So you can also have different designs. You can even make circle from here. You just make a circle. So it depends on what you are looking for. So we are done with this design or style right now. So we need to also work on this, okay? Because if you look on the thumbnail, you also see that we have another strap running this way. So from here, I'll measure 1.5 as my strap, 1.5 as my strap, and that 1.5, I'll just go ahead and follow this and connect the 1.5. So I'll just connect it to the neckline. So let me check what I have here to see if I have it at 1.5. So I'll just follow here and connect this way. Can you see? So now we are done with this style. Like I said, you can create, you can recreate. So if you look at this, if it's still very high for you, you can do 3 inches. So now I'm going to cut out what I have right here, and that is going to serve as our design. Okay, so it's going to serve as a design. So I will not just cut it out right now. I'll first of all cut out the main fabric, then we will now cut this out on the fabric. So the fabric I'm working with now, I'm working with Ankara, and the Ankara I'm working here with, I've already cut it out at 3.5 yards. So these 3.5 yards, I'll be placing it on equal fold. Okay, what I mean is this is the selvage, this is the selvage. So the whole of what I have here is 3.5. I put it on fold this way. So if you put it on fold this way, this is where we are going to start up our marking. So I'm going to place the both together, so we'll be able to mark out the back. So we'll mark the back and cut out the back. Then we'll now place the paper to cut out the front. I believe you understand. So after you have placed it on the first fold, if you have placed it on the first fold, next, see what I have here. I'll put it together, bring this one and this one and put them together to have the center front line here. So I'll quickly arrange it now. Alright, so I'm done folding it right now. I have my center front line here, and I have the sleeve area here. I can also turn it this way. So it's just about folding it like I told you. After folding it this way, next is to fold it and create the center front and the center back. So I'm actually working on both front and back. I'm going to draft everything right here. So note that when we're creating the draft, we came down by 5 inches. So I'll still do the same. Don't forget to do that, or else you will not have this done appropriately. So I'll come down by 5 inches before I create my border line. So this is my border line at 5 inches. I'll just mark that line across, as you can see. So once I'm done marking my border line at 5 inches, next, this will now serve as my shoulder. So from the shoulder line, I'm going to impute the chest line. Chest line is 9 inches, and I'm going to add ½ an inch for seam to it. That's my chest line. So I'll rule my chest line up to this sleeve line. Next is my waist line. Of course, I don't need my waistline, but what I need here is the hip line. Okay, so you can see where I took my measurement from that border line. I'll go ahead and take my hip measurement. So my hip measurement here is 29. I'll make 29.5 for stitching. So I'll just go ahead and rule my line to the tip. Then from this point, once again, I'll just go ahead and measure from here. I have my chest line, I have my hip line, then the length, full length of this dress. So this is what I'm using as a full length. I'm using the whole length. Okay, so this is 3.5 I used. So I will advise, if your length is at 60 inches, just go ahead and do what? And don't cut the 3 inches from the 6 yards of Ankara. Just fold it and take your measurements. Okay, that will help you not to have a shortage. But my length is somewhere around there, and is okay for what we are making. So now I'm going to, all right, so now we are done. So next we want to do is to mark out the back neckline. So when we drafted the neckline on paper, if you remember, when we drafted the neckline on paper, the back neckline, the width of our back neckline was 3.5. So I'll go back here on my fabric, and I'm going to measure that width, which is 3.5. okay, so I'll measure 3.5. But because we have both fabric and everything here, I'll measure 3 inches. Please take note, by the time I sew off 1/2 inch, I'll have it open at 3.5. So here I'll mark my 3 inches, and here I'm going to mark my 1 inch depth of my neckline. So once I've done that, I'll go ahead and connect. I'm going to connect these two, this as usual. Then once I'm done with that, I'm going to cross check again what I have here to be sure I have the 4 inches. Okay, so this is 3.5, which is very correct, because by the time we sew 1/2 inch, it goes down a little bit. Note that we are working on fabric, so you are expected to have 3.5 right here. Okay, all right. So now on the sleeve length, or on the shoulder, my shoulder is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. This is it. So from here I'm going to measure my desired sleeve length. So for you, you can decide to go with whatever sleeve length of your choice. Some can make their sleeve length BUBU short at 11. Some might decide to make it at 14, at 15. But for me, I'm going to use the whole of what I have here on the selvage line as my sleeve. So once that is done, next is to go over to the hip line. On the hip line, I'm going to measure my hip measurement. I'll place my hip measurement. My hip measurement is 50 divided by 4 is 12.5. So this is my 12.5. And I'll go ahead and add 3.5 inches, both for stitching and for everything. So the whole measurement I have from here to here now is 16 inches. I'll come over to the chest line. I'm going to place that 16 inches. Then I will mark. I'll go over to my hem line. I'll also place this 16 inches, and I'm going to mark 2. So I'll mark the 16 inches. Then I'll come in with my straight ruler and connect all the 16 inches line. So you can see me connecting the 16 inches line. I'll keep connecting it, and I'll stop somewhere before the chest line, because we still need to work on the sleeve. So on the sleeve, I'm going to come down from this line, which is our border line. I'll come down by 1.5 inches. This is my 1.5 inches, and I'm going to connect my neckline. If you remember, that's 3.5 inches. I'll place my ruler this way and connect it all the way to come over to the 16 inches, to the 1.5 inch. Okay, 1.5 inches. So you can see what I did. From the 1.5 inches, I connected it to the neckline. So next, I'm going to measure from here, that 1.5, my sleeve opening. So my sleeve opening, I'm using 12 inches. This is a BUBU. So this is the line of my 12 inches. On this line of my 12 inches, I'll just come in by 1.5. And then I'm going to connect this BUBU sleeve from the tip. I'll just connect it from the tip this way, like this. Okay, but if you still want, you can leave this. So I'll just leave this the way it is, because I don't want to tamper with what I have on the sleeve edge, the selvage. So by the time I fold it in, I still have what I want, so it's okay. But normally this is how to connect it. All right, so I'll just draw this line to meet up with the 16 inches line, and here I'll just make a curve. You know, that is how the BUBU goes. So the BUBU sleeve is there already. So now I'm going to cut down with the back neckline now. So we want to start off the front neckline before we go ahead and cut everything. So for the front neckline, note that when we drafted on paper, what we have here at the depth of the neckline was 8.5. So I'll just come over to this starting line now. I'll measure 8.5 inches, so you can see that, and I'll mark. So this is the marking of my 8.5. I'll bring in this pepper on the fabric now for the front dress. At this point where we have the neckline, I'll just place the 8.5 this way and secure it, this folded part, to match up with this folded part, okay, with my pins. So I'll just go ahead and pin this way. Can you see? So this is it, and that is it. So now make sure you arrange this part very well. So if you arrange this part here, this is the starting line. It will definitely terminate on that line, because that is the shoulder line. So I can still go ahead and pin a little more to hold it in place. So I want you to pay attention to this part of the tutorial, okay, because it's very, very important to achieve this dress accurately. You see this slant line, that is the line we are using. Note that I told you we just slanted this 4 to be able to get this. So this is the slant line of the whole dress. So what we are going to do now, when cutting this, I'm going to cut this, adding my seam allowances. So in order to be sure of what I'm doing, I'm going to add 0.5 inch all around. So I just add 0.5 inch all around. You can see what I'm doing. I'll keep adding it. I'll keep adding it, because that is what I'm going to sew up. So wherever it terminates becomes the new neckline. That's where we are going to cut. So I'm cutting this way, cutting that way, and then I'll return it back to where we have the curve line, okay. So now I'm going to take off what I have on this pattern, because we have our front neckline already. So I'll take it off and we are going to cut. So we are cutting the back first. Note that we are cutting the back first. So if we are cutting the back first, then we are going to have a separation of back and front. Very important. We are going to have a separation of back and front, so we don't tamper with what we have here, and at the end of the day we spoil the dress. So I'll just go ahead and separate front and back at this point, okay. So I'm going to separate front and back at this point, so we'll be able to Alright, so having separated front and back, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to first cut to this point, okay. I'm going to cut to this point. We have our collar first. So let me cut out the shape, then we can now separate the both. So I'll just go ahead from the hem. I'll keep cutting. I'll keep cutting the bubu. So this part is the same for front and back, so that's why I decided to cut it together. Can you see? Then I'll now come over to this part, which is also the same for front and back. I'll come from the shoulder seam line, and I'm going to stop somewhere at this point too, okay. So once I stop somewhere at this point, I can just go ahead and do this before I separate. So just be careful when you are working on this. It's actually very technical, so that's why I have to draft it on paper before I proceed. So once I'm done with this, I'll just go ahead and do what? Take off what I have. This measurement, I'm going to remeasure it on the back. Okay, so this measurement here is 3 inches by 1 inch, so it's very simple. So what I will do is to separate front from the back. I'll separate from front from the back. So the part I marked, I'll call it front. I'll skip it aside, and this part is going to serve as our back. So I'm going to just go back to what I did, which is the neckline marking. I'll just go ahead and do this. I'll just go ahead and mark 1 inch, and here I'll mark 3 inches. Then I'll come in with my curve ruler and repeat what I did the last time. So it's just as simple as this. Can you see? So now I'll go ahead this way for the back. You can see how I'm still following the slant line, and I'm going to do what? Measure. So make sure here is 3 inches. Note that we are going to stitch to have it fall back at 3.5. So I'm measuring, I have it at 3 inches. Then I'll just go ahead and cut off the back. Can you see? So we are done with the back and the side of the BUBU dress, as you can see. So I'll just set it aside. Alright, so I've already arranged the front, okay, the way we had it before. We separated front and back. So make sure you arrange it. I even secure with my pin. So everything has to be well arranged. So I'll now come in from that point on my chalk line, which I marked, and I'll cut following that 0.5 inch which you marked. So I'll just go this way. Okay, so that becomes the front neckline. So the next thing we want to do is to jump into the design, the fabric design. So this is what we have on the front neckline, as you can see. So by the time we sew half an inch, it becomes a little more wider, and we join this, we have exactly what we are looking for. So we are going to open up the paper so we'll be able to cut out exactly the style or the design we want. So this design we created, I'll just go in the way we created it. I'll just go this way, and then I'll cut it this way. Then I'll come in here. I'll just come in here and take this straight this way. Once I get here, I'll cut it out. So I believe you understand why we have to do this on paper before instead of on fabric. So I'm working with half a yard, not even up to half a yard anyway. That's all you need. So this is a chinos fabric. It is a sample chinos fabric, so it's actually thick. So you can make use of anything you want. You can use crepe, you can use cotton, you know, you can even use satin. So I just drop this on top of this, secure with my pin, add my seam allowances, half an inch all around. So let me do that now. I just want to show you this. Before you cut this, make sure you make your markings before you cut it. So right here you can see I've already made my markings of 0.5 inch all around. So that is where I'm going to, you know, sew this dress. So another thing I want you to note before you take off your pins is to ensure that on this line where we are going to have a notch, just make a notch here. So you can see that's why I'm marking it. This is the neckline. Okay, so we are going to make a notch. Of course, you see how we are going to do that. From here to here is that 4 inches that we raised up when we were drafting. So make sure you place your notch this way on a straight course, so you'll be able to have 4.5. We have half inch to sew, and it still remains 4.5, so your notch has to go this way. So of course you see how we are going to do that. So I'll take off my pins from the pattern now, and then I'm going to cut out what I have right here right away. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out completely. So this is what we have right here, and that is what we are going to place on the front neck dress. So this is the front dress. I'll bring it back once again, the front dress, and this part will be on top of this way. Okay, so everything will be on top like this, then everything will be stitched together. Of course, when we get to the stitching, you will see. So this is how it should fit before we proceed. I've placed this on top of it, as you can see right here. So now this is the front part of the dress, and this is the front part. So I'll just take off the pins, and I'm going to place it in a way I'll be able to sew and turn. Okay, so by right, this is how it should be. So I'm going to place it this way. The stitching, we are going to stitch this way. I believe you saw what I did right there. Let me repeat myself again. This is the front, that is the right side of the fabric, and the right side of this fabric which we are using for this design. So we are going to sew this way. Can you see? So in other words, I'm flipping everything this way now. So by the time we are done sewing at 1/2 inch, we'll turn it over to the front, and we have a neat finished neckline. So I'll just go ahead and secure with my pin, and I'll go over to my machine now. So I'll take my time and make sure I align the neckline. Okay, so I'll go over to my machine now. I'm going to sew in the neckline, and I'll be back to show you what it looks like. So let me do that. Alright, so I'm done sewing at 1/2 inch. So this is what it looks like when I finish sewing that part. So because this part is V necked, I'm going to place my notch almost up to the V neckline, but please be careful you don't have that part. You cut out the stitches. Okay, so I'm going to top stitch. After placing the notch now, I'm going to top stitch. So for my top stitching, all my seams will go on the part of the fabric, because the facing is going to be turned this way. Okay, so I'll place these seams now this way and run my stitches. All right people, so now I'm done top stitching right now. Okay, so you can see my top stitches right away. So I'll just go over to the ironing table now, and I'm going to lay. First I will open up this dress, and I'm going to lay my hemming gum. Some people call it hemming glue also. So but at least you see what I'm using right here. So I just place them as strategic positions, okay, just to hold on to the facing. So I'll just lay them accordingly, and I'll use my steam iron to iron it down. So I just lay my hemming gum this way. So as I'm sewing, as I'm ironing, I'll be arranging it one after the other. Okay, so you just go ahead and use your steam and iron it down. So I'll also lay to this point as well. So I'll quickly do that now. Then we'll jump into the stitching of the sides. Okay, so let me just iron it. All right people, so now I'm done ironing it. Okay, so please don't allow any rumples to it. Of course I'll still iron it again. I have to place my hemming gum appropriately, okay, to have it lay flat and nice. So now the next thing I will do is to go in and top stitch. You can see what I'm doing. I'll just fold in this way. That's one way you can do it. But for me, I just thought of using my zigzag machine. So if you have a zigzag machine, you can go ahead and use it for this. But if you don't have, you can fold in. Okay, you can just fold a little in and run your stitches very neatly on top of it. But I'll be using my zigzag machine for it. Alright, so this is what my zigzag machine looks like. Can you see? It's a butterfly machine. I'll just set it to my zigzag number. If you have one of these, that will help you do this. So I'm going to sew right now. So I just go ahead and drop it at the edge, and I'll start making the zigzag. Okay, so I've done something like this before in one of my tutorials, okay, on how to make flower patches. So I just go ahead, I'll keep sewing, following all the edges. So I think this is better for me, okay, instead of going ahead to top stitch. So this is what I have on that edge, as you can see. Okay, so I'll run this down. So you can set your zigzag machine, you can make it a little bit thicker, you can make it a little bit lighter. So it depends on what you actually need on this edge. So I'm going straight ahead to run this to the end of this. If you still want, you can fold it in like I said before. So I'll keep on doing till the end of it. I'm done with the edges. Okay, so I use my zigzag stitches, and this is what it looks like. So like I said, you can tuck it in and top stitch on top, but I just prefer to work on it this way. So now coming over to this, I'm going to put them together and run a straight stitch. So I'll pin them together now. I'm going to run my stitches this way, then turn it to the right side. So I've run the stitches, so I'll just go ahead and turn it this way. Okay, so once you turn it this way, you can still give it a press, a little press. So I'm just trying to take it to the side of the seam. Okay, so that is that. All right, so the next thing we are going to do now, we have it as the collar right away, built up collar. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll go ahead and lay the back piece. So the back piece, so I'll quickly lay the back piece now, right side to right side. So I'll just go ahead and sew from here, from this corner, and sew to the end. I'll also do the same from this corner. I'll also sew to the end. Okay, so I'll sew this to the end now, then I'll turn it to show you how to. All right, so I've joined the sides right now, so I just want to show you how I did that. So if you are joining the side, make sure you have 0.5 inch, out of this line. 0.5 inch, you shift it in 0.5 before you stitch. I also did the same. From this point, I came in 0.5 before I stitched. So now I've gotten the midline. I'm going to match what I have on the mid point of this collar. I'll just match it up on the midpoint this way. Okay, I'll arrange it very nicely. I'll match midpoint to midpoint. If you want, you can secure with your pin. So I'll just go ahead and sew the neckline together from end. Join the back neckline. I'm done joining it. So this is what we'll have on the back neckline. Can you see? So this is the center back area, which we matched up to that point. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to close up the sides, and we are done with this dress. So now I'm done with this dress. I've closed up the sides, as you can see, and I'm also finished up the sleeves. Okay, so the neckline is ready, so you just go ahead and weave this part. So that is how I come to the end of this tutorial, and I believe this class was helpful to you. So if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every day. Like this video, share to family and friends. Drop your comment on the comment section and your suggestions as well. Thank you once again. See you in the next class. Bye.